Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your art?
My name's Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90. I'm a digital artist. I work with performance, text and sound, but mostly lens-based media, and I work largely within the theories and traditions of the disability arts movement.
What is the inspiration for your art?
Well, I love life, but I think disability gives me perhaps a different perspective. What I'm particularly interested in doing is challenging binary oppositions, problematising certainties. For example, challenging the idea that there are disabled people and non-disabled people, and trying to show that we're all a unique mixture of strengths and weaknesses, whether those are physical, intellectual or emotional, and that these vary over our lifetime.
How has your experience of disability affected your art and artistic expression?
I think being disabled gives me a much more intense experience, not just of the environment but of society, as well as quite literally giving me a different perspective on life. It forces me to be more creative, and I think to be much more thoughtful, and just generally provides me with an awful lot of material.
Please tell us about your installation. What was the inspiration? What would you like the audience to take away?
The inspiration for my installation Fight was being prescribed a spinal brace to wear for 6 months, and realising during that experience just how very much everything about my art was affected by my original training as a dancer. I had never practiced as a professional dancer because I'd developed Sherman's disease of the spine. So I'd never really realised how much that still formed my identity. I did a piece using a decorated spinal brace called My Not So Secret Life as a Cyborg, which allowed me to explore the social construction of disability as performance art. And following on from that, I worked with Mark Prest at the City Gallery in Leicester and Andrew Logan, who's quite a well-known sculptor, to decorate a new brace that was made for me by an orthotist called Jonathan Wright, who's actually got an MBE. He's an unusual medical professional, and he's done a lot of work out in India and in war zones. So we had the brace, and I wanted to then go back and explore movement, explore how wearing a brace affected movement, and also explore the development of a disability identity. It was important to me to work with a dancer, Layla Smith, who didn't identify as disabled, so that we could explore the things that I was talking about before, the fluidity, the fact that we're all unique, we're all a unique mixture of strengths and weaknesses. And there were other inspirations too. I think I would like the audience to take away from it whatever they want to take away from it, but I hope they enjoy it.
Tell us why you are excited about this exhibit.
I've never shown work in Washington before, so I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to do so. This piece of work hasn't been shown in America at all, so it's an American premiere for the work. I have, of course, shown work with other disabled artists before, but I haven't shown work that's had a specific digital theme, so I'm very excited about the opportunity to be able to do that as well.
How do you think that opportunities for disabled artists have changed, and what do you see for the future?
I think the disability arts movement is an incredibly exciting and very radical international fine art movement. I think there's a growing recognition of that, and I think that's very exciting. I think we deal with all of the same subjects that any other art movement would do, but I think we deal with that with a unique perspective. And I think in a world that seems increasingly reluctant to accept our mortality and really to live in a fantasy world where we're all going to be live forever, we're all going to be, quote, perfect, that the disability art movement offers the only antidote to that. I think it's a very exciting movement, and I'm very pleased to identify as a disabled artist.
What do you think the future of digital art is?
I think the art world is still inevitably struggling with digital art. I see parallels between digital art and casting where there's more than one original. Another piece of work I've done, for example, is a series of light boxes called Perception 1 to 4 that are based on Matisse's Backs 1 to 4. And I very much realised within that, these parallels, that you can have more than one, quote, original piece of artwork. And I think the world's still trying to come to terms with that. But I think, again, it's very interesting to be able to work in a new medium, and a medium that combines so many other media. So I think the future can only be positive.
Could you tell us how the dance was created?
Fight as a Dance was created partly in the dance studio and partly in the editing suite. It's very much a film dance, it's not a dance film, it's not footage of an actual dance. We created it and shot it piece by piece. It gives the impression, which I hadn't intended, that I could sustain that level of movement for 6 minutes and that smoothly, which I hadn't intended. I hadn't intended to create something that appeared to be more physical than I could actually manage, but I'm very interested in choreographing for the camera and the possibilities that that offers. So I had some basic ideas and I had the soundtrack, although in fact we were filming it in silence, we were counting, and the soundtrack also I created and put in later. So it's a mixed process. There were ideas, there were things that we rehearsed, there were things that I developed as Layla and I worked, and then crucially it was created in the editing suite. So the dancers that you see projected are the dancers. It's not a record of something that actually took place. What takes place is what's taking place in the projection. It doesn't exist in any other form.